and welcome to the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. My name is Margaret Chin, and I am the council member representing Lower Manhattan, including the Lower East Side, Financial District, Tribeca, Greenwich Village, and Soho, just to name a few. I am pleased to be here to host a very important discussion about young people across our city. Summer is around the corner, and soon New York's children will be enjoying their vacation. It is important that our city make sure every child's summer is fun, safe, and rewarding. Today, we are going to look at how New York City invests in summer activities for young people and what we can do to make the programs for our kids the best they can be. Joining me is my colleague, Councilmember Debi Rose, who represents the North Shore of Staten Island and who is the chairwoman of the Council's Committee on Youth Services. Hi, Debi.
Hey, Margaret.
It's great to see you. I'm good.
It's good to be with you.
Well, welcome. And why don't you start and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to chair the Committee on Youth Services?
Well, Margaret, my passion has always been working with young people. I went to school to be a social studies teacher in junior high school and high school because I thought that education was very important for young people. I didn't get a job in education because New York City was going through a fiscal crisis. So I actually wound up working in group homes with young people who are disadvantaged and our most vulnerable youth. And then I transitioned to workforce development for young people. And then my last job before getting to City Council was at the College of Staten Island as the director of the Liberty Partnership Program, working with at-risk young people to ensure that they graduated from high school, giving them all of the resources. So I learned a lot about what it takes to help young people be successful. And so when I got to the City Council, my passion was still young people. It took me 2 terms to get to the Youth Services Committee, but I'm really happy that I'm the chair because this is where my passion lies.
Great, Debi. You know, I was on the Youth Service Committee since the beginning, and I'm so glad we finally had a woman chair. You know, there's a term called summer learning loss, and maybe we can explain to the audience what that term means and why is it so relevant to summer programming for our kids.
This is a term that's well documented, and it has several other names. It goes by summer setback or summer slide. And what happens is during the school year, there's a level of achievement. But when children are out of school during the summer, they can experience up to about a month's decline in learning. And so this experience loss is called the faucet theory, where during the school year, the faucet is on full speed and that they are learning and all the resources are available. But during the summer, that flow is not there. And so many of our young people, if they don't have structured activities or programming, there's a loss. We don't see that same level of loss among people, young people who have parents of means or middle class because they have financial and human capital that they bring to the table, whereas young people from lower economic neighborhoods or disadvantaged, they have a tendency not to have that same level of resource and availability of structured activities. So there is some decline in the learning.
I mean, that's why it's so important that we make sure that there are summer programming available.
And it really is. You know, summertime, our young people are the most vulnerable. If there's not structured activities for them to be engaged in, activities that promote learning as well as fun, then they're at their own devices to entertain themselves. So during the summer, we need to provide safe, structured environments where we can promote learning and our young people can be safe.
Let's talk about why every year we have to fight so hard for some of these jobs, right? Summer programs for our kids, and why does City Hall always wait till the last minute to make sure there's funds for our kids' summer program?
This is the hardest part of being the chair of the Youth Services Committee for me, because I just don't understand how and why we have to do the budget dance every year when we have an administration that says that they recognize how important it is for our young people to be engaged. They understand the importance of education. They've promoted PreK and 3K, and they've promoted anti-violence programs because they know that there are a lot of elements that sometimes young people fall into. And so during the summer, when school is out, it just seems to be a no-brainer that we would provide activities, education, recreational facilities for these young people so that they are not out there and not without something constructive to do.
And we work so hard to fight for more some of these jobs, right?
We did.
I think last year we got, what, 70,000?
We had 70,000 youth jobs. And this year we're fighting for even more, where, our goal is to have 100,000 youth jobs. We were able to get SYEP baselined, but there's still more that has to be done. When we look at what services are to be provided, our families need that. Parents need to know that during the summer, while they're working, that their children are in a safe environment where they can get, the services that they need. Oftentimes, 80% of our children in our public schools depend on free lunch and other amenities that keep them safe and healthy. And so during the summer, it's a shame that our programs have to wait to find out if, in fact, they're going to be funded. And so parents have to make decisions. These are often parents who work. They have no option.
That's right.
And they don't have the economic means to pay for summer programming.
One of my first jobs was working for an after-school program. And I remember during the summer, that was the only chance the kids get to, go to the beach because somebody's supervising it.
Exactly.
Or go to the park and do all kinds of activities. And these are kids that don't qualify for some of these jobs because they're younger.
Right.
And most of the parents, as you say, work. And the kids that I work with, a lot of them are immigrant parents. If the kids didn't go to the summer program, they would be ending up in a garment factory with their mom all summer long. And that's not good. And that's why it's so important that we're right now also pushing for universal after-school program and summer program.
We are. And I find it very difficult to fathom why New York City is hesitant to fully fund these programs. I too started, my first job was SYEP. And I learned valuable skills that were transferable and really helped me to arrive at the place that I've been able to arrive at. And I think it's really abysmal that we can make the investment in prisons, but we can't see the value of making the investment in our young people. And parents should be able to have peace of mind to know that their young people are safe. And then there's still just the educational component so that they don't suffer summer slide. We're trying to increase the dropout rate so that less young people are dropping out and they're able to achieve a high school diploma and move forward. But if they keep experiencing summer slide, these learning deficits eventually accumulate.
Definitely. I mean, like, I know, as you say, the mayor's, investing in pre-K, but don't forget about the kids who are there now.
Absolutely.
And when we had the rally, we're going to be talking with some advocates later. When we had the rally, I mean, the kids were so enthusiastic.
Yes.
Yes. And they need the summer program.
If you really believe that it's important to invest in our young people, and we should start very early, and they're starting early, but you can't throw them away when they're in their preteens and their teen years. It doesn't make sense that you're making such an investment early on to have it dissipate in the later years. It's just penny wise, pound foolish.
Yeah. And also the mayor was, very instrumental in kind of pushing, supporting universal after-school program for middle school kids.
He was.
Right? We were all,
yes, he was.
Pushing for it, and he was supportive, and that was great. But then he forgot about the summer. Right?
Right.
And also, I think for the elementary school kids, we're pushing for universal after school.
And it's important. And we have, and I think that it's disingenuous on the administration side to say that we recognize how important early childhood education is. And then when we get to adolescence, what happens? It's no longer important. So we're pushing for universal after school. We would like to see that funded so that there's continuity and that we can provide totally comprehensive programming for our young people from cradle. And you're the senior, you're the aging committee chair. So from cradle to grave, we should be supporting this population.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Councilmember Rose. We'll be right back.
Okay, thank you.
Joining us now are two experts and advocates who are leading the fight for New York City's youth. Gregory Bender of United Neighborhood Homes and Greg Robertson of University Settlement. Gregory and Greg, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. So, Gregory, you wanted to maybe start telling our audience the population that uses the summer program.
Sure. There are summer programs for children all throughout their education, so starting from kindergarten through high school. But every year, unfortunately, we have to fight to get restorations of summer programs for middle school students. And these programs are incredibly important because they're really coming at a time in life that's very important for young people's development. It helps them, it's a time when they get to really find their potential and see what their interests are. And it also helps if they have learning disabilities, if they have other issues that they may face in their education, to be a time that those things can be identified. So making sure that, in this period where they're transitioning from elementary school to high school, that they actually have support year-round, that they're engaged, that they're being active, and that they're learning is so important. And that's why we have this fight every year to make sure that the middle school summer programs are saved, and are so grateful to you and the Councilmember Rose for constantly being leaders in that fight.
So great. A couple of years ago, they were cutting summer program slots. How did it feel like to be an advocate at that time?
University Settlement has a long history of advocacy. We know how valuable these services are to our families. We're serving some of the most vulnerable youth in New York City. And so Greg knows that UNH can reach out to us and that we're there. We're going to mobilize our young people. We're going to go to rallies at City Hall. We're going to have our signs. We're going to talk to our elected officials. This is an investment in our young people. It shouldn't be just an option. Like summer funding shouldn't be an option. It should be something that the mayor is committed to. And for the importance of these programs.
So maybe talk about both your experience working from the outside, and how do you work with council member in terms of advocating against cuts and advocating for more funding?
Well, I think it's a matter of getting our families involved. Our families rely heavily on our programs in the summer. I was overhearing the conversation that you guys were having earlier, and it's true. Our parents are working. They need the services. So whenever there's cuts, whenever we have slots that are being taken away, we talk to our young people, we talk to our parents, We get them involved. We do letter writing campaigns. We call 311. We partner with Greg and other organizations to mobilize young people to take large groups to Youth Action Day in Albany.
And they've been very, very active. We really value the input from our advocates. They have organized youth rallies that have been phenomenal, where we get to hear from the young people, in their own words, what it means to have summer programming. And it's really important, I think. And without the advocates, our fight would be even harder.
Yeah, I know, Gregory, every year your organization were able to gather data and put up the chart to let every council member know how many seats they lost.
That's right.
If the summer program doesn't happen.
Yeah, and there's 34,000 seats throughout the city where there's no summer component in middle school this year in the mayor's budget. And it's really been thanks to the leadership of the city council that this has been restored every year. And I know that's been really much working with young people. And that's actually one of the great things about doing advocacy in this sphere. The young people are such eloquent and such passionate and powerful spokespeople for the programs they're in, for themselves, and for their peers. And it's really exciting to see them grow as leaders and know that, you know, the next generation of New York City is going to be built with people who, you know, stood on the steps of City Hall and brought their creativity and brought their passion and brought their intelligence to working with the city council and with others to make sure that this is a fair city for New York City's youth.
I think it's wonderful that they're actually getting young people involved in civic engagement early on, and so that this will not be a foreign concept to them when they're old enough to vote, and they realize that their voices have power. And the advocates have been so powerful and helpful at hearings because you have the data and the hands-on experience. And nothing is more effective, I think, in our fight than actually hearing from people who are impacted, the anecdotal experiences, as well as the young people and the advocates testifying.
So great, maybe you could share with us, you know, some of the impacts that may these young people who participate in this program. And the University Settlement's been doing this for a very long time.
We have.
And maybe we can share that with the audience.
So our summer programs give young people a chance to explore interests. It provides them with a safe space. Again, I heard earlier in the conversation, you know, a lot of our young people depend on the summer meals as well. So we're able to provide breakfast and lunch, which they have during the school year and may not have in the summer if it weren't for these programs. We go on trips that we have experiences that they may not otherwise have. All of our programs are also free of charge, so I know for many of our families who are working hard to make ends meet that, you know, the price is right, you can't beat free. So, and we also provide really high quality, and young people are able to make connections with caring adults that turn into lifelong mentorships. We also have a lot of SYP who work at our sites, and for many of them it's their first introduction to the world of work. And they're able to build skills on their resume, they're able to learn their work ethic, they're able to connect with mentors in the workplace that can help guide them throughout their life and career. And it's also an opportunity for our SYP workers to have jobs during the school year, because at our sites, that if they're doing really well, they're offered a paid position in the school year also.
That's great. I mean, we got to continue the advocacy, right? The budget is, we still have time. The executive budget is going to come out in May, and let's see if we made an impact. You want to talk about what are some of the upcoming plans to continue this advocacy?
Oh, yes.
How many more rallies?
We're going to be more rallies. There'll be one on April 24th at 1 o'clock at City Hall. And we'll be bringing young people to City Hall very regularly, particularly as the budget negotiations go on. I know both of you will be in the budget negotiations, and you may be inside the building and you hear the voices of young people coming from right outside very frequently.
We'll come out and join you. We'll take a break and come out and join you. Right?
And if you want to bring the kids inside, we'll let you do that.
Yeah, I think the rallying call is "Don't be a bummer,
Save our summer."
Yeah, that was such a great slogan. Yeah, don't be a bummer, save our summer. Earlier, Councilmember Rose and I were talking about universal after-school programs. I think something that the Women's Caucus has been, advocating and taking the lead on. I think something that we really want to make it happen. and we wanted to start and continue that advocacy. Maybe you could talk about like what's the importance of really this universal after-school program for everyone.
Yeah, you know, and one of the things is we saw with the expansion of Sonic that you actually could do an expansion pretty rapidly of after-school programs, and there's an incredible need in the elementary school years because essentially there's not a lot of options for parents who work a full day if there's no after-school program. So we want to see a movement towards universal programs for elementary school students, and we think that's both feasible for the city and for providers to make sure that this grows in a way that there's a quality program available, that between the hours of when school closes and when parents need to work, that there's programs that are educational, that provide recreation, and that really provide social emotional learning for the young people. Because for kids, it's not just about the facts you can teach them, it's how they can grow. And that's something that really happens a lot in after-school programs. And we're really excited to see the City Council's budget response championing expanding Compass elementary school students.
Yeah.
Because every year we have a waiting list at the beginning of the school year, especially for our kindergarten, first and second grade. There just aren't enough slots in our sites to meet the need. So I think the universal expansion would be a godsend to our city.
Yeah, and we could plan it out. I mean, we could start with the kindergarten, first and second grade, and then gradually expand it. But that's something that we really have to work towards, right, Debbie?
The Women's Caucus, we heard the voices of mothers who are working mothers who know the need. And to be able to have universal after school and provide these services worry-free for parents would be quite an accomplishment in New York City's, portfolio of services that we provide.
I just don't understand why the administration or the Department of Education don't understand that. Because like for a lot of young kids, and especially immigrant kids, they do not get the help to do homework at home. From the parents. The parents are, not English proficient. And in an after-school program, they're going to get the help and the recreation. Because even back in the 70s, when I was working in an after-school program, you could see the difference.
Absolutely.
And the kids also get to play and they get to learn different skill, and then they also get to make friends. With kids from different background, different nationality. It's just a wonderful learning experience. And somehow the administration just don't get it.
And it's surprising because after school is really an equality issue because wealthier parents do find those activities and they're able to pay for those activities. For parents of lesser means, city-funded after-school programs are often the only option to make sure that the kids have those activities. They're also incredibly important for older siblings because a lot of times if the parents are working, it becomes the responsibility of older siblings who are in high school to care for their elementary school age siblings. So providing this, making sure that the young kids have the option of after school also means that high school kids have more option to explore their interests and explore their careers.
And universal after school would eliminate our latchkey children. And that's children who go home unsupervised. They're in the house for hours until a parent comes home. And they have responsibility for siblings, and it's just not a safe environment, and they don't do their homework. And so there's a lot of elements that we're addressing when we provide universal after school.
Gregory, do we have like an estimate in terms of what that would cost?
We're working on that.
There was just a figure was thrown out. It's not a real figure, but approximately $250 million for universal after school.
But it isn't a worthwhile investment, right? If we look at it.
Absolutely.
And I think that the way that we do a lot of advocacy is look at investment. The same thing with seniors, right? You invest now, save money later. Because if we invest our kids now, then they're going to do better in school. The graduation rate's going to go up, and you would spend more, on supporting them now, and then you don't save money later for doing remedial programs or all those other things. And we just got to get the administration to think about investing in our
And it's a
kids.
drop in the bucket in a $93 billion budget.
That's right.
And it is an investment, and we keep giving lip service to our children are our future. But we have to make that investment so that our future is safe and sound and appropriate. So it really is, it shouldn't be. We're looking at sort of redesigning Compass now so that maybe we can address the needs of more young people after school. So we've made some suggestions in this upcoming budget, and it'll be interesting to see if we're able to make that happen at least.
I would like to add also with the expansion of universal pre-K that there's a huge demand for pre-K after school, which unfortunately DYC doesn't fund that. We go through K through 5th grade for our Compass, and then we have our Sonics, but there's such a huge need for pre-K after school as well.
That's right, and that's why the pre-Ks that are provided by the community-based organization are very popular.
Yes.
Because they run from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night, and that's good for working parents, but it's also great for the kids.
Right.
So there's still a lot of things that we need to advocate for.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Thank you so much
you.
for
Thank
joining
you.
us today.
Thank you.
We run out of time, so unfortunately that is the end of our show. And thank you to our amazing guests, and thank you for watching Represent NYC on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. I'm Councilmember Margaret Chin. Goodbye.